When I went, one of the recession points that happened in the US, this was basically 2002, just a little after 9/11, right? And so the economy had tanked. I had the problem of finding a job which would give me a visa, and I knew I had this loan to pay. So I kept on looking for a little bit, but then I was like, okay, I don't want to be now in a situation where I'm struggling and I'm getting stressed out. And you know what? Let me go back to consulting. When I started my own company, I had a lot of people saying that you have a background in AI or aap kapde bech rahe ho? I said, yeah, that's true. Founders have to be slightly schizophrenic, right? Because on one hand, you have to be supremely confident that what I'm doing is the right thing. And on the other hand, you also have to be slightly humble to be like, okay, what am I hearing? And how can I take this feedback in, right? So which is why I say you have to be slightly schizophrenic and you're walking a tightrope of some sort. I started believing as I was looking at more and more competitive ways for a company to grow, because that's what you're looking at when you're in consulting. I realized that the only way that a company could actually grow and be what they wanted to be was if they had customer loyalty and if they knew how to build experiences with customers.
Data and data analytics, they have become a buzzword now. Everybody is throwing data and data analytics at each other. At that point in time, the understanding of data and the importance of it, was it there with you, or is it the course that you took up or the program that you took up at Northwestern that did that to you? And from there, you thought of building your career on that?
Power of data, the power of analytics was definitely there in certain industries. Like the pharmaceutical industry has been one of the most, I would say one of the most like proficient users of AI. They have actually led to the development of several different tools which most people didn't even know about till a few years ago. But now when I look back, I realize that, this was in that sense a pretty, radical decision that I took to go ahead and keep on specializing in this field.
Right. And right after the program at Northwest, what was the first thing that you took up as a project that you wanted to see that, this is the company that I want to be, and this is exactly the skill that I want to learn?
This is my second master's that I was doing, right? So I took a loan. I was lucky enough to find a person who could sign my loan for the US, and I got that. So I had a loan hanging over my head. Yeah. So when you're having the INR to USD conversion, it's a pretty big deal. It's not like a small amount. At the same time, I was very clear that I didn't want my dad to pay for this because he's already gone ahead and paid for one education. I've done it, and I've actually I'm getting I have good salary. So
I
what
think
is the
it's
reason?
the most difficult thing to do as a child, to go to your parents and say again that, I want to do another degree, pay for that also.
Yeah, and I didn't even actually want to have that conversation with him because I just myself felt that this isn't cool, this isn't right, Bearing point happened because I needed a job. So when I went, one of the recession points that happened in the US, this was basically 2002, just a little after 9/11, right? And so the economy had tanked. I had the problem of finding a job which would give me a visa, and I knew I had this loan to pay. So I kept on looking for a little bit, but then I was like, okay, I don't want to be now in a situation where I'm struggling and I'm getting stressed out. And you know what? Let me go back to consulting. So that was how consulting happened, even though it wasn't my first choice.
Lovely. Okay. So then the big move to the data, where you used your, prowess, your learning there, was with Yahoo, right?
Yeah, I'd started doing some analytics and some data in consulting itself, but the scale and the beauty with which it happened was at Yahoo. And if you just think about it, right, in 2007, www.yahoo.com was one of the biggest sites that existed. So the scale of the data was just fantastic to work with.
What happened in your Yahoo journey? What exactly were the things that you learned, and did that open your eyes towards the power of data?
I think one, definitely opened my eyes to the power of data, but also working in Yahoo in the Valley, right? Just led to meeting so many brilliant people. The culture at Yahoo was fantastic. And you just get exposed to so much. I mean, now if I look back, the technology that has made AI what it is today, a lot of it was invented at Yahoo. Hadoop came out of Yahoo. Some of the other technologies which, like this is not technology, but like the guy who built SurveyMonkey was from Yahoo. So there were so many great, things happening at Yahoo. As a big company, unfortunately, bureaucracy crunched a lot of it and didn't let it evolve the way it did once it went outside. But it was just amazing to be in that culture and to be in that spirit. It was fantastic. It was like some of the best. I mean, I never regretted that decision, even though there was a lot of organizational issues that started happening. It was fantastic.
So what was your next big move from Yahoo? Why did you decide that you want to leave the school place and then go on to the next stop in your career that you decided? And I want you to talk about that next stop. What was it?
So I moved to this company called Shutterfly, where it was a smaller company. Shutterfly is an online photo printing site where you give your photos and it prints photos as well as creates photo personalized memorabilia like photo books, photo mugs, canvas prints, a whole bunch of things that you can think about.
But why did you believe in a company like that? It's always like, I am coming from PwC, मैंने बहुत कुछ उखाड़ा as a consultant, right? And from there मैं Northwestern गई, पढ़ाई किया मैंने, and from there I worked with Yahoo.
Yeah.
And from there to Shutterfly, how did that happen?
So one, I think personally I've always been motivated by companies where, whatever they're building has passionate audiences and has audiences that are very into what they're doing, right? That's something that always excites me. So I've always been very keen on being with companies that have that. And even Yahoo had it. Yahoo had that aspect even for its customers. It doesn't seem like it now, but back in the day it did, where people were gung-ho into Yahoo. So I think that for me was a big thing in Shutterfly. And then the personal thing was that I wanted to move to a smaller place. I wanted to not be that cog in the wheel, and I wanted to see how it was.
Okay, so moving from Shutterfly, till now there was no fashion, there was no clothing, and we promised our audience that
I know
there is someone who is going to help you with that and try and understand how she's revolutionizing it. Talk about ModCloth a little bit. What exactly was ModCloth, and why did you want to join from Shutterfly to this particular company? What exactly excited you the most there?
First of all, I think when I was in Shutterfly, my so-called hypothesis that I might do better in smaller environments came true. So that I kind of realized. I was in the valley, I was right in the middle of Startup Central. So I was like, now I want to join a startup. So that was what started the search.
Was there a moment in your life where somebody told you that, why are you joining a startup? Why do you want to do this?
No, but when I started my own company, I had a lot of people saying that you have a background in AI or aap kapde bech rahe ho? I said, yeah. That's true. So, you never know when that statement may come. Right. The startup one didn't come for ModCloth. It didn't happen because it's not that I took a radical cut or compromise in terms of salary. But coming to your question, ModCloth was an online vintage-inspired retailer. So they basically had a particular aesthetic of clothes that they sourced and they put online. But more importantly, what I found very fascinating about them, and which is why I wanted to join them, is that they had done a crazy job in terms of creating a community. They were highlighted as one of the social retailers. They did a fantastic job in engaging the community, getting the community to love them. And I wanted to see how can I mine that data to increase revenue and do inventory predictions, and does it actually work? So that's how I decided to go for ModCloth. I happened to be at the right time at the right place, where when I walked in, they were looking for an adult. So I was the adult who went in to lead the analytics team. The team actually met me first, and they were the ones who said that they wanted me instead of the founder, because they wanted to be protected from the founder, right? So I was like, okay, this is very interesting. And they're like, she's going to be able to fight, and she's going to be able to defend. So I said, okay, great. I mean, so that's how it kind of started.
And did you fight when you went there?
I didn't have to fight. I think, Eric was luckily superb to work with. And I just told him we have either option A or option B. You decide what you want to do. So he said, okay.
What was the big learning, if I have to ask you, Kuntal, in an organization like this, in a startup like this? We all know, because I also am a part of a startup. I have seen the kind of a journey that we take. Every day is a hustle. Every day brings new challenges. What was your big learning there, if you have to,
I think there were two learnings probably for me. One was as a startup learning, and then the other was, from an AI perspective, right? One, at a startup, things are messy. They are chaotic. There is a lot that is happening. If you do not have people who are bought into the larger vision of what the company is building, they are going to get frustrated and leave. Startups are hard. It's not like nothing goes according to plan. You probably see this like every day, right?
Every day.
But you still are motivated to come in and do things because you believe in the larger cause. You believe in the larger vision. So founders, managers, all have to spell that vision out so that, the employees are bought in, and you have to hire accordingly and make sure that, you are getting people who are bought into the vision.
So if I have to ask you, Kuntal, in ModCloth specifically, what were the sort of skills that you picked up that, set the course for you in the decade to come, if I have to ask you?
So I think one was managerial skills, for sure. That's the first time I became a manager. I had a team of 5 to 6 people. So that actually was, one skill, and it just kind of developed, refined it. Two, I think the skill which shaped how StyleNook came into being was, it was the first time in my life that I realized AI alone or data alone cannot work in an industry where there is this much variability and there's this much change. Fashion changes, right? There are trends that are not predictable. There are trends only that a human could see. Fashion is emotion. Fashion is expression of self. And so that's where I kind of learned the whole concept of what we call augmented intelligence or human in the loop. How do you kind of combine man and machine to bring out the best experience? Don't make them compete against each other, but how is it that they work together? And that has actually defined, what StyleNook is as well.
Superb. Talking about skills, we also have a platform called Altuni where we believe in providing the $1 million skill to people. There are a lot of programs that we run there. There are a lot of industry experts who come and teach students as well to make them ready, the future skills that are important, the kind of sectors that are growing, that the kind of ideas that are developing now that we are not even aware of, maybe that is going to shape up their careers. So if you guys are interested, you can check Altuni out. Moving back to our conversation, you said that there was AI. I read somewhere that you have written that we are the Netflix of the world, but
Netflix of fashion.
Netflix of fashion, but then there are humans involved to it. Yeah? So this is the statement, this is the mission statement of StyleNook?
At StyleNook, what we're doing is we're changing the way people find clothes and items that they love. What it means is simply that, when you walk into a store or when you go online, the assumption is that you know what you're looking for, you know what works for you, and you know how you're going to find it. These things are not true all the time, right? Simple example, we shop in context. I want something for an event. I'm speaking at this event. I want something. I have not decided whether it's a dress. I have not decided whether it's a salwar kameez. I have not decided whether it is a sari, right? I have options. You have options. You could have worn a half sleeve, full sleeve, you could have worn a jacket. We all have options, right? So how does this journey even come together? Like the assumption is that you know what you want, and we're saying we don't all the time. So user comes on our site, she fills out a few questions, which helps us to understand her budgets, her tastes, her requirements, and what she's into. And then she can let us know that I'm looking specifically for this, give a few links if she wants. And then based on that, we have a human stylist, an actual human stylist, who works with our data tools to go ahead and show her 15 to 20 outfits along with style tips. And then she can go ahead and say, I like this, I don't like this, I like this so much, I'm buying it. And that's how the process gets better. Now, if you think about it, it's like Netflix. The more you use Netflix, the more Netflix sees your behavior, the better it gets. It almost seems like it's reading your mind, right? When you tune in on a Friday evening and it's got like binge-worthy, titles there for you to watch, because they know what you're doing and they're using recommendation engines through AI to see what can be done. So which is why we say that, we are like Netflix, except there is an actual human stylist involved as well.
Right. Since we are talking about Stylenook, we were in US. We were
Yes.
talking about that journey, that moment there. Was Stylenook a company that took shape or take birth in US, or
No.
was it somewhere else that it happened?
I don't know why, but I never thought about starting something. I was just happy kind of working at different companies and doing well. I think the moment I came back to India, which was more for a personal reason, I wanted to be closer to family and spend more time with them. There is friction in our lives, right? There's day-to-day friction in terms of just XYZ things. But Stylenook as a concept came from a very personal scenario for both my founder and me, where we just felt that everything around us has become like very easy. It's easy for you to find music that you love, Spotify. It's easy for you to find movies that you love, Netflix. When it comes to fashion, even though there's been so much development in the last 10 years, you still spend hours going through multiple
because
sites.
Because there are so many apps and
There's so many
companies.
options, right? And you walk out not buying anything, you walk out buying the wrong stuff, and you're just like, okay, you open your closet and you think, I have the same stuff day in and day out. And you walk out not buying anything, you walk out buying the wrong stuff, and you're just like, okay, you open your closet and you think, I have the same stuff day in and day out. So discovery becomes difficult, returns are high, you just land up browsing and not buying anything. So that's when we thought that why can't there be a different experience which understands a little bit about you and helps you discover things that you already know and some things that you don't know. And so that's what led to Stylenook.
Kuntal, you said that you came in here for 6 months. And, because of Stylenook, how many years now you are in Bombay?
So when I moved back, I wasn't sure if the move would work or not, right? I'd been in the US for 10 years. And so I gave myself 6 months to see whether I last or not. And I joined a company when I moved out here. It's been 10 years, so clearly the apartment...
10 years?
Yeah. So clearly the company has clearly the country has done wonders and I've stayed on. And that's actually the AI platform allows us to do that. So that's where we are. Our office is around the corner and we're looking at, different markets.
If I have to ask you, Kuntal, what was the defining moment which made you think that, you're on the right path with Stylenook? You thought that I'm solving a particular problem that people have.
I always say this, like founders have to be slightly schizophrenic, right? Because on one hand, you have to be supremely confident that what I'm doing is the right thing. And on the other hand, you also have to be slightly humble to be like, okay, what am I hearing? And how can I take this feedback in, right? So which is why I say you have to be slightly schizophrenic and you're walking a tightrope of some sort. Actually, in the last few months, we have heard so many women, so many customers tell us that I cannot believe this has worked so well for me. Customer validation, customer feedback, just talking to customers. So I make it a point once a week, I try and call 1 or 2 customers. And they may not have used us yet, but they may have come in and I've gotten their details and I want to understand why have you come in, right? Or why did you decide to use us? And I do that because it just keeps things very real. It just allows me to understand that yes, what we have identified as the problem is the problem that she is coming for, right? And it keeps you as a founder very real as well.
What was the biggest challenge that you faced where you thought that, as a startup, as someone who is at the helm of the ship, right? You're answerable to certain things that crop up day in and day out, the kind of problems that there. What was the biggest challenge in terms of business that you have faced so far?
I mean, in the last 2 years, it's like, a business like ours relies on people going out. So that happened. After that, we're like, no one's going to go out. So we switched from what we were doing to pajamas. We literally went from power suits to pajamas.
This particular season at Conversations Cafe, we have themed it as the $1 million skill, right?
Okay.
In your opinion, what would be the $1 million skill that people should acquire or look to acquire right now so that they're set for the course, maybe for the next 5 years or the 10 years in their lives?
I think the one that is actually very important, especially given how tech has overtaken so many aspects of our life, right, is critical thinking. And I don't know how you go about acquiring that, so maybe you guys have the answer. But I think that skill becomes fundamental, right? If there are models that are coming in place, if AI is taking over so many routine aspects of work, the only way for you to kind of stay on top of things is to acquire a very high degree of critical thinking, logical skills. That works wonders, and that can actually take you in a lot of different places. So I think that becomes the number one skill as we see more and more automation happening.
Absolutely. And that's where a platform like Altinew can also, be helpful, because as I mentioned, there are a lot of these courses, and it's not just the courses, it's people in the industry who have lived those experiences, who you are going to learn from. In the audience also, I would like it up for the audience now. Very quickly, we can take 1 or 2 questions if you guys have.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a first-year MBA student. We got a lot of great anecdotes today. So my question for you is that what role does data and analytics play in hyper-personalization today? Because you spoke so much about building an experience, building that personal connect with your customers. So what role does data play in hyper-personalization today?
In order for an experience to be relevant to you, I need to understand who you are. I need to understand what you are about, right? So old school way would have been you and I having a conversation, you and I chatting, and then we go ahead, and then I go ahead and create an experience that's all about you. But through data, whatever you do, and I hope you guys know this, right? But whenever you're online, you're leaving a lovely digital footprint for people to play with. Someone like me can play with it. So what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're doing online? What is it that you're not doing online is used to create an experience, and that is data. How often do you come to the site? Even if you're not in the same realm as StyleNook, right? Where we ask you a lot of questions, and that creates the personalization and the hyper-personalization. I love by the fact that you've used that word, because that's a key word that we keep using. But even if companies are not doing that, just the fact of what you do on the site, what you don't do, that allows them to create an experience just for you. So when you're trying to understand hyper-personalization, one of my favorite examples is Netflix, right? Not only do they kind of show you movies that you may want to see, they also kind of put it in categories. Also, what they do is the cover that you see of a movie will be different from the cover that I see and that he sees.
All right, Kuntal, thank you very much once again for coming in here. I'm sure you're going to head to your office from here now, which is just, it's been inspiring to know your story, and I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people decide what they want to do in life and what they want to build for the people around.